Hey everyone, it's Monday. It's Monday, March 20th, 2023. Let's talk about some sports here on the Sports Algorithm podcast. We're going to talk about college basketball, of course, review the bracket as it has made it through round one and round two with, as predicted, a lot of upsets. Not too many today, though. And then we'll talk about also tomorrow, today, Monday. We'll talk about the results from Sunday and also the four games on Monday. We'll also talk about NBA, which had a pretty reasonable day on Sunday, going 6-2. And we'll take a look at Monday NBA. And then, believe it or not, we're going to talk about baseball because I was looking at baseball and I realized, we're starting here in 10 days, I think the season starts. So it's time to get this at least in order and get all these players on the correct roster. And I also wanted to check to see how this was doing, even when I didn't do any work on it. And it didn't work very well here in spring training with no rosters, as it's not supposed to. But we're going to end the video talking about baseball and the work that I'll be doing on baseball here, which I'm going to make some progress and really get some predictions up here over this week because it requires work. So let's go back and let's look at college basketball. So we have round two finishing off today. The algorithm goes 11-7. And when it comes to some of the tournament games, we have Michigan State upsetting Marquette. That was where one of the upsets was today. We had Gonzaga winning and predicted the score pretty well. We had Xavier winning, predicted that one. Florida Atlantic does beat Fairleigh Dickinson, but Fairleigh Dickinson covers this 15 points, and I took them plus 15 points today because I thought they would show up after beating Purdue, and they did. They actually led in the second half of this game a little bit, so they tried and they did cover, so that was good. We have Sam Houston State was an underdog that lost. Liberty, with this bad strength of schedule, also is an underdog that lost. But in terms of all the underdogs for the day, we actually go 3-2. Utah Valley beats an injured Colorado, as was picked off with this injury report. Kansas State was the tournament upset that the algorithm had at plus 130. That's a good call from the algorithm. And Milwaukee comes back and beats Stetson. So your algorithm underdogs actually do win, and they're profitable. You end up with a profitability there of, if you just bet the underdogs, comes out to be 44% going 3-2 there. So not bad on the underdog, not bad day for college basketball. And let's take a look at the bracket to see what's going on, because I just want to talk about some things that you can do in the bracket. So Baylor losing hurts. Yeah, that was another one. I didn't mention that one. Baylor was a big one that lost because Algrim had Baylor here. And they lose. That was a big one. I took Baylor and lost today. So that was trouble. As you can see, the bracket, falling apart in most areas except for really the West. Did Kansas lose to Arkansas on Saturday? I think they did. Somehow I glossed over that. So the only area, like I said, this is pretty much the best looking side. Actually, the Midwest is about the same with Houston, Xavier, and Texas. But a lot of these fell apart. Now, it goes 22-26 on the 48 potential games. So there was 32 games in round one, here and here, and then 16 games in round two, here and here. That's where you get the 48 from. So it got 22 of the 48 slots correct. Now, that's not very good, but it was, there were a lot of upsets. These brackets are tough. So what do you do? What if you want to try to get this to do better, to see is there any distribution that would have done better? We can change our variables here, even though this distribution is pretty good. We just had a lot of upsets. It's tough, but what if we start messing around with different variables to see? This is how easy it is to check to see if something would have been better. For example, if we just use adjusted rating as the only factor that we cared about, the team's adjusted rating, to see how the handicappers that rate all the teams throughout the season, how would that have done? That goes 23-25, so you win one more game, and this is the way things look like. You can see the winners still pop up in green, but and losses pop up in red, but it has St. Mary's beating UConn in this scenario, whereas UConn actually won this game. So different things happen when you do this. would have had Marquette, who did lose there. So you can start messing around with different distributions to see if any of these factors would have resulted in something better. What's another one we like to use? What if just defense? Like, what if the tournament's all about defense, right? What if we just care about defensive rating? What does that do? 21-27, not as good. Not as good. What about average points per game? Pretty basic one. What does that do? 14-31. Doesn't help. Doesn't help. Makes things a lot worse. What about strength of schedule? What if it's just about teams that play good teams? How about that one? 26-22, right? About the same. So we'll go back to our original distribution, but you can see you can try messing around with it to see if you could have got something better. But it's just, I mean, nobody has Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue. Like these are things they just don't make any sense sometimes, right? Teams that are not as good sometimes win. So that's the way the bracket looks. That's the way college basketball looks. Let's take a quick look at Monday. And we only have 4 games, no March Madness games. All the games are in different tournaments, I think, like NIT and such. So looks like we've got a slew of lines in the minus 200s. And a little bit injured on San Jose State, but it says that all these 4 teams should win. That's Southern Utah, San Jose State, Indiana State, and Charlotte. All the lines are about the same. So not much to look at in terms of good lines in college basketball on Monday. Let's go over to NBA, right? So NBA has a pretty good day. I think I said take Denver as the big pick in the video that I did about Sunday. They win. Everything in here wins except for Atlanta, and your game all the way at the bottom loses with an injured Phoenix. A lot of these teams were injured, and notice how teams that have heavy injuries, a lot of times they don't cover, right? Like the Lakers don't cover against the Magic. They were at 82%. Milwaukee does not cover against the Raptors. They were at 87%. The Pelicans do cover at 83%, but their margin is way up here, right? So, when margins get closer and teams have injuries, that's where, they barely win, they don't cover. But this is pretty good luck here. This is a pretty good look for the day. So NBA continuing to really, you kind of set your watch to NBA sometimes. It's doing pretty nice. So what about Monday? Monday, we have 6 games on the schedule. Injury report will get updated on Monday. So we're looking at Sunday's injury report, which definitely matters. But Memphis could beat Dallas, even injured. They would if they weren't injured. That's what it says here. And that line is not bad. Then you've got the Pacers over the Hornets at minus 122. That's a 7% margin. And the Hornets look to have injuries. The Knicks, but they're all the way down here at minus 310. So that's not a great line. And then your underdog of the day is the Jazz over Sacramento, but they are a bit injured. So tougher day when it comes to NBA. The only really okay one here is probably the Pacers, believe it or not, over the Hornets, depending on what this injury report looks like tomorrow. So, or today, I should say, Monday. So that's NBA. Now, like I said, I wanted to finish off with baseball and talk about what we're doing here. So baseball, extremely complicated file, requires a ton of maintenance and a ton of updating daily. My plan is to spend a good deal this week when I'm not in jury duty. We'll see if I get thrown out of jury duty, which starts on Tuesday. I usually get thrown out like before noon when it comes to jury duty. They'll come in, I start raising my hand, asking questions, and they boot me out real fast. So hopefully it'll be a quick jury duty for me, even though I like court. I like sitting and watching court. Should have been a lawyer. Enjoy it. But anyway, assuming I'm not tied up with jury duty all week, I'll probably start getting some predictions out. And what the baseball file entails is getting your odds in here, getting your correct pitchers in here with non-abbreviated names. You got to have, sometimes their names will be abbreviated. You need to change their name to the full name. You need to bring in lineups here and make sure that you've got the full name in the pitcher column when you paste the lineups. You can see here, you get the lineups from RotoWire, but there are no lineups yet for Monday. So what I did is I threw Sunday in here. Sunday it's calling Sunday today. Oh, wait a minute. They moved today to Monday already. Uh-oh. That's I grabbed it like a half an hour ago, so you can't even see it anymore. But basically, I grabbed the lineups from Sunday, and that's what we're looking at in here. So let's explain what's going on. You've got a full pivot table right here of all the lineups as they come in. You're actually just copying this sheet. For those that are interested in the MLB algorithm and want to copy and want to start updating, the rest of the video is really for you, because I'm going to show you how I'm going to prepare the file for you so that the updates that you have to do when you get it are minimal. You don't have to re-roster everybody like I'm doing right now over this week. It's kind of what I'm dedicating this week to doing, is getting all the pitchers in their rotation and re-rostering all the lineups so that everybody's on the correct team. So all you usually have to do is you just Control A and Control C, you copy the whole thing here. And then you're just going to paste it in this area. Like you clear out what's here, and then you just right click, match destination for me, and you paste it. But watch what happens when I do this, because there's no lineups in here. So I just pasted Monday's set up with 0 lineups listed. This is what happens is it's all broken, and the roster names are going to be nothing. See, like that, they just disappeared. So there are no rosters because it's not set up. There's no players here, right? Basically, RotoWire has not updated the lineups from Monday yet. So let's go back and undo what we just did and get our list from Sunday up here, because it's more helpful to explain what you have to do. So this is Sunday's list, and everything that you're looking at, all the games in here, these are actually the results from Sunday. And we're trying to get the lineup factor, which is this factor right here. We're trying to get this thing complete. Anytime we have zeros or really low numbers, like these numbers in the lineup factor should be like between 2 and 5 or 6 is what the lineup number is supposed to be. It's adding up the impact of all the different players and how much they contribute. That's what this number over here is actually supposed to be. So there's a ton of zeros here. The reason why there's a ton of zeros here is because we don't have these players' abbreviated names and their teams. Those 3 things, we don't have them correct in our roster sheet. So how do we fix that? Let's explain one by one, and we'll do a couple of them. So we have a problem. We have Austin Hedges, who is a error. Austin Hedges on Pittsburgh, or sorry, A Hedges on Pittsburgh is in error. Well, who is A Hedges? Well, he's probably Austin Hedges. Let's go look. We're going to go into our matrix sheet, and we're trying to find in the RotoWire name, which is this area right here. We're trying to find that A Hedges, see if it exists yet. He does exist, and I bet you he's not on Pittsburgh. He was on Cleveland last year. Now he is on Pittsburgh. So you're going to change his team, assuming that is Austin Hedges and not a different A Hedges. It might be Aaron Hedges or Alonzo Hedges. Probably not Alonzo Hedges, let's face it. But it's probably Austin, but you'll sometimes actually need to highlight and look in the RotoWire to make sure that's the correct A Hedges, because some people will have the same last name. But we're going to assume that he got traded to Pittsburgh, because I'm pretty sure that's accurate. So all of a sudden now this corrects itself. Now, why is this a 0? You know why this is a 0? Because when he was a player last year, he was playing on Cleveland. Now he's playing on Pittsburgh. So we're actually going to change his last year's season stats to Pittsburgh when it comes to his batter stats. And once we do that, now all of a sudden it shows you his actual contribution of 21%. So let's do another one so you can start to see how the process works. We don't need to do anything with Brian Reynolds on Pittsburgh, because apparently he played for Pittsburgh last year and his abbreviated name is B Reynolds, and that's fine. And it's working because he's got a 50% here. What about the next one? C Santana. Well, that could be a couple different Santanas. The way we can look at that is we'll start going here and we're going to look for all Santanas. And you can see there's only one C Santana. And he was on, it's probably Carlos Santana, probably, but we don't really know. So let's actually look at RotoWire to do our due diligence here. Santana. It's going to give us, there's a Christian Santana, but there's also Carlos Santana on Pittsburgh. So it is fabulous guitarist Carlos Santana. He's not doing duets with Michelle Branch. I think that's my joke I always make about Carlos Santana. Oye, como va? That's right. Como va? Oye, como va, right? So what happened to him? He's on Pittsburgh now. He's on Pittsburgh. And what does that mean? That means his batter stats also need to be changed to Pittsburgh. So you can see that what we're doing is we need to also duplicate his stats. He got traded last year a little bit as well. We need to do work in the batter's pivot and add these two together. There's a lot more we need to do here because we also need to consolidate people that have been played on two teams last year. We're going to do some work on that. I discussed that in a previous video last week. I'm not going to drag out this video anymore and show you how to consolidate stats, but that is what you need to do to get a more accurate thing. But there you go. So Carlos Santana is done. What about Connor Joe? So what's going on there? Here's a full name. It's not an abbreviated name. I'll show you a little bit how this works. I believe I have a duplicate formula that shows you. No, I don't. Okay, we're going to do this. So whenever a name is duplicate, it's going to show up in pink so that we know whether or not we've added the same abbreviation twice or the same name twice. We're going to do the same formula, conditional formatting formula over here that will highlight anybody whose name is duplicate. Some people are going to have the same name. You see, this will be helpful. For example, there's two D Fletchers, probably because there's a Dominic Fletcher and then another Fletcher. Like, what does that look like? What do you do with that? I'm telling you, baseball is super, super complicated. There's David Fletcher and Dominic Fletcher. So it's important that you get the proper Fletcher here and the proper team, even though this is the same abbreviation, because it will work as long as they're not on the same team. If you have somebody with the same abbreviated name on the same team, it's going to cause a problem, but that doesn't happen really. Or RotoWire kind of understands that, and they make sure that they don't put the same abbreviation. They'll put this name in full as David or something if both these guys played on the Angels or both of them played on Arizona or something. So that probably won't be a problem, but it's good to see it to know when you're entering stuff in if you have any duplicates, because you want to have unique records for every player. You want to just have one record on one team for every player. So let's go back and do some more editing here. Connor Joe, what's Connor Joe's situation? Connor Joe's on Pittsburgh. Well, we're going to take his full name and we're going to put it right here and we're going to see if it turns pink. It does not. It does. It does, which means we already have him in the list. That's why we do that. So we can check to see if we already have him. We're going to find him. Connor. He's right here. He's not on Colorado anymore. He's on Pittsburgh. So we've changed that. And then we go into the batter's pivot. And we're going to find him again. And he is now on Pittsburgh. And this, I mean, you can see it's a tedious process to get everybody set up initially. But the good thing is that, you know, this will all get sorted out here. Most of everybody will be updated here in the in spring training, and I will get all these guys. As you can see, there's going to be hundreds of them by the time you're done, but I'm going to go through the list, and it's nice to do it manually. Kind of one of the reasons why I was contemplating whether or not I should spend the time on this is I like to see, if you're going to pay attention at all, I like to see all the trades. I like to just see it, and you see them one by one when you make these updates manually. So you see, like I just saw Jacob deGrom is on Texas now, I think, instead of the Mets, right? Got traded, I guess. So you start to see big names move and where everybody moved because you literally update every single trade that happened throughout the year when you do this. And once you fill in everybody and all of these names get matrix completely, then you'll end up getting a more complete look at the lineup factors. You can see our Pittsburgh lineup factors already going up. It was a lot lower than this before we just added all those people. So that's one of the ways that you know you have a complete lineup is these numbers. Like I said, they get to be between like 2.5, and like 5 or 6. I think the biggest lineup factor will probably be about 6 on any given day, depending on how we distribute out the stats for each player and how we do this. But that's the situation. I'm gonna chug away at this and go through a lot of players. And really, I'd like to get yeah, there's no way I could do Tuesday with jury duty. We'll see if I do something Monday in the middle of the day, because I think I'm going to spend the next hour or two kind of updating everybody I can and take a look at the lineups when they release them so that we can really have an interesting look at Monday, because there are going to be new pitchers in here, and I haven't even talked about what you need to do to get everyone's pitchers stats in here, because I have a lot of fake pitching stats for people that haven't pitched at all. But we're going to eventually update. There will be no fake pitching stats in here. What there will be is there will be AAA or AA stats for players that have not started and pitched a Major League Baseball game last year, or of course this year yet. So we'll fix all that, and we'll get at least AAA stats in there, because they're at least a little more helpful. Certainly not going to be like professional stats, but it's better than putting just random stats in there, which is what we have right now for a lot of these guys. So that's the Monday Sports Algorithm podcast. Baseball is pretty. It's a lot of colors. It's a lot of work, but it's time to just get this thing ready, because I want to be able to update this thing quicker. It will take. This thing can take an hour to update every day. And that's after you've done all this prep, or you've prepped the rosters correctly. Even after that, it can still take an hour to update all the stats, to check for trades, to consolidate stats for multiple records for people that have been traded, add the team pitching stats, add the team batting stats, refresh your batting order, make sure that you have a complete batting order. This thing needs to be complete. That's how you know it's complete, is you have a number in every single slot for each team. Like you actually get the batting orders pop out in here, right? All this stuff happens. This is a beast, but for those of you that really want something to do every day when it comes to tracking baseball, it is definitely for you. So you can buy a copy, and if you don't want to update it every day, Carlos, I can refer you to Carlos. He will be sending out snapshots every day. He won't send you the file, but he will send out snapshots and do the updates for you, show you what the predictions are. I will not be doing that over the summer, because I know it's bad news if I try to do that. I'm not going to have time to do it. I'm not going to want to do it. But Carlos will do it. But I will be able to provide you with the file so that you can follow the how-to videos and update things yourself. All right. So that is the podcast for Monday, and I'm going to find out who this guy is. Jihuan Bei. Did you play last year? Did you play anybody's team? Let's find out. Did you put his name right here? Is he a duplicate? No, he's on Pittsburgh. That's not an abbreviated name, so that's his real full name. So it goes right here. Same name goes right here. And then you'll see that he pops up and he actually did play for Pittsburgh last year, apparently. And for some reason, I did not have him in the matrix. That's weird. It's interesting. Usually if a name's not on here, oh, you know why? Because I stopped updating the baseball file, I think in like August or July of last year. That's why. So he probably started playing later in the season in 2022. But I did bring in all of 2022's batter stats, so he's actually in here. And that's why that happens. Lots of work to do. G-Man Choi, wait a minute, you get traded? They got G-Man, we got a hyphen here, by the way. Watch out for hyphens in names. Make sure you include it in there. They're loading up with Japanese players on Pittsburgh. I think those guys are Japanese. So G-Man Choi already in here, but he got traded. So we go find him. Choi. Boy, this is really slow because there's a lot. It's a big file. Anyway, you've already seen me do that. All right, good luck, everyone. May all your picks be winning. I hope you're enjoying your tournament. The only thing I didn't update here is hockey because I don't want to recreate history for hockey. I guess I don't sell enough hockey, and I'm going to sell a ton of baseball here over the next couple weeks for everyone who wants a copy of baseball and he's been following all the other algorithms. And you're like, "Where's baseball?" Well, I will have something for you here toward the end of the week as I get all these names done. All right, good luck, everybody. May all your picks be winning.